We all know how compelling the Tesla story is by the numbers. I mean, numbers are way more compelling than story, or are they? Is it story or numbers? I wonder. For some of us, it's numbers. And for the vast majority of people, it is story. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to show it to you by the numbers. And I've been buying all week. I don't know about you. If you have any money left over and you're buying, join the club. But this is not investment advice. But after you watch this video, you might feel like me. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 24 and 25. We did a video the other day on 2023. My expectations for 2023. Now, again, these expectations, I've done them the same way I did them when I owned a manufacturing business, is I did, worst case, not so great case, a base case, and a bull case, divided up into 4 different approaches so that, because you can't control everything. As Elon said the other day, you can't control whether there's a war or a pandemic or an economic collapse, or, there's so many things that can go on that you can't control. So with that in mind, you come up with various scenarios, and these give you kind of a range of possibilities as opposed to an exact estimate. So we're going to start with 2024. And then I'm also going to do a video. It'll either come out before or after this. I haven't decided, on 2030. That'll be kind of fun too. So let's take a look at 2024 first. So I start off with auto and light truck. You can see I have a worst case at total units, 2.7 million. Now, where do I come up with 2.7 million? If we go back and we start with the 500,000 in 2020, and we multiply times 1.5 each year, because that's what Tesla's goal is, to increase their sales by 50% per year. So multiplying by 1.5. Then you would get to approximately 2.7 as being the worst case for 2024. Now, the remarkable thing is, of course, when you're doing anything like this and you're multiplying year after year by 1.5, the numbers grow rather rapidly. And in this case, that's true as well. So in 2023, the worst case was 1.8. It would have actually been around 1.7 using the 1.5 method. But the worst case was 1.8. You add 9 to that, you get 2.7. So that's a couple of different ways to come up with the 2.7. The not great idea that I'm throwing up there would be a number that I think is impossible not to get to. So that's just my number. 3.3 is what I believe they will do. And the bull case at 3.6 is if everything goes great and all factories are ramped at the fastest possible way and there are no wars or pandemics, etc. Okay, so let's just drop down for a quick second. Whoops. Drop down for a quick second and take a look at the details on this. So let's look. For me, that would be Fremont, which already has a capacity of 600,000, that even in 2024, worst case, they would do 600,000. Then they would do 650, which is much more likely, to happen. I use that as the base case as well. But if they really do well and they ramp up, and I think there's a pretty good chance of this, they'll do 700,000. For Austin, the worst case would be that they're fully ramped going into 2024. I don't see how that doesn't happen. Or that they quickly become fully ramped and more than fully ramped at over 500,000 potential for the year. So that would give them 500,000 for the year. I think it's going to be more than that because they're going to be ramping way beyond the 500,000 first phase level. So then you see my numbers, and I'm just, bumping them up a percentage at a time. Berlin, maybe they won't be fully ramped. Seems like they would be, but I'm just going to say, no, they're not quite fully ramped. When they start the year, they're not going to quite pull off 500 for the year. And you can see again where I just kind of move that up based on doing better and better than the worst possible case. For Shanghai, we know that they have the ability to do more than 1 million units. So worst case, there's problems in China, who knows what. Worst case, it's only 1,000. Then I bump it up 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. I think they can actually do more than 1.3 in 2024. but there's some issues. I guess there's at least rumored issues with regard to expansion. So 1.3 might be kind of a top case for 2024. For the Cybertruck, I think 100,000 Cybertrucks would be a horrible result for 2024, based on previous ramps of other vehicles. So that would be worst case, 120, 150, 175 being best case. And I think there's a case that could be made that if that could ramp faster. The Semi, I'm multiplying times 5 because I'm figuring that the total profit per unit, not the total sales amount per unit, but the total profit per unit will be about 5 times that of the average auto profit. So I'm putting a times five multiple there. So I'm saying that the worst case would be that they make 10,000 of those, which would be 50,000 for the purposes of the number, et cetera, et cetera. You can see I increased the number up to a best case. I'm sorry, the bull case being around 25,000, which is half of what Elon is saying he will do in 2024 on the Semi. So that's where I get the numbers. We go back up to the top again here where we have the 2024 numbers. I divided into 2 slots of 12,500 profit per unit, which I think would be the worst outcome for 2024. The economy should be back in good stead. All of the cost cutting that Tesla is talking about doing for 2023 will, when I say all the cost cutting will be accomplished, all of their planned cost cutting will be accomplished for 2023. They'll continue to cost cut in 2024, but it will be an ongoing process that will be largely accomplished in huge numbers in 2023. So I'm saying they're back to full margins of 15,000 in the most likely case. And then that gives you total auto gross profit. You can see the numbers crossed there. Other, you can see that I've gone to 2 billion instead of 1 billion in my 2023 analysis. I believe that there will start to be some serious money coming off of insurance, coming off of the supercharger stations, coming off of some of the services. Who knows what else, but those would be just a few. But yes, I think we'll start to see the numbers pop there. It's a pretty low, and insignificant number compared to everything else, but I'm going to say 2 is very, very likely as the worst case, and 4 billion per year is very likely for 2024, for next year. Overhead is going to go up. So I'm figuring instead of $8 billion a year, it'll be around 12 billion a year, as the increase in all the efforts are about 50% up. So will the overhead go up. It might not go up as much, but I'm going to throw that number in there as a possibility. That also includes cap expenditures, and so CapEx might go up as they build more gigafactories and build more mega factories and build more distribution centers and all the things they're going to do. So this would give us a per share just on auto, worst case, $7.50 in 2024. Best case, all the way to the right, $14.60 per share just on auto. All right, let's take a look at energy. If you know my analysis on energy, I'm basing it largely on what Elon has said, and then on some of the work of several people on Twitter now that are all agreeing that it looks like the ramp is well underway, that we've now seen more evidence of how the accounting works from the forms that were put out by Tesla after the earnings. And that would tend to indicate that, yes, there is a lag time in terms of when these profits get shown, when the sales get shown, when the profits get shown. But I'm going to continue to use the $250 profit per kilowatt hour. We're going to look at the total gigawatt hours as being worst case in 2024, 60. That would assume that would just assume, all right, that Lathrop is fully ramped and that Power Walls are doing about 50% as much business as the 40 gigawatts that are being done in Lathrop. That'd be my worst case analysis. I'm going to say 80 is slightly better than that. That would assume that maybe Lathrop can do more than 40, which there's a lot of evidence starting to pop that maybe Lathrop will do more than 40, and also that Powerwall will do more than 20. So when you put those two together, that could be a possible 80. To get to 100, that means Lathrop is really doing well, and or a second location has started making some of these battery packs. And then 120 would say everything is maxed out, everything does great, and you get this big result. So that gives a total profit, as you can see, for energy. The overhead, I'm saying, will be either 2 billion or 3 billion, depending on the amount of ramp and the number of factories that are being utilized. And then you see the net profit and the per share, $4 as the very worst case on the energy profit for 2024. That's a crazy number, but it's just based on what we think we absolutely know is going to happen next year. So it could be as high as 8.6 if everything goes great and they open a second factory. I believe they will open 2 more factories, or at least have begun to break ground or buy warehouses and start to outfit them. So I think they'll be running 3 completely different factories sometime in 2024. And we know it's a fast ramp. All right, then we get down to the IRA credits and the reg credits. I'm going to say the reg credits stay about the same at about $1 billion. That's partially because Tesla will be making so many cars, but it won't go up because other companies are also making a lot of EVs at that point. And so I'm just going to say it stays the same. It's not a very important number at this point. It was never a very important number, but boy, it's becoming less and less important. But the IRA is going to become important. You can take a bunch of different ways to attack this. If they only do 1 terawatt, 100 gigawatts of total battery production and put those into cells, that would be 4.5 billion. So I'm going to say 4 billion as a bare minimum, 5 billion as slightly more likely, but still under where I think they will be. 6 billion, even more likely, and 7 billion is probably getting pretty close to the number, and it might even be more than that. Okay, you put all that together, you have total earnings of a minimum of $42 billion, or $13.30 a share. Maximum would be all the way to the right at $25.70 per share in 2024. If you put a 20 multiple on that, which would be kind of silly, that's $500 a share. If you put a 30, you're talking about $750, $780 a share. So that'll just give you some idea of where I think we're going in 2024. Well, now, if you go to 2025, you have to, do another 50% ramp, right? So on cars. So if you're going to do a 50% ramp, it's going to be, as you see the total at the bottom, 4 million, 4.2 million, 4.4 million, 4.4 million, or 4.6 if everything's going well. Some other people are projecting it might be as high as 5 million. I think 4.6 is fine, and 5 million would be great. So let's look again here. Fremont at 700,000 and growing. Austin now, fully heading towards their 1 million per year. Berlin limping along towards 1 million per year, but if they are able to grow the facility, if Berlin doesn't get in the way, so I'm just figuring that might be the hiccup, the problem. Shanghai by this time, or a second factory in China, or a factory in Indonesia, or a factory in Japan, or a factory in South Korea. Another factory somewhere might be this Shanghai number, but I'm saying somewhere or another it's going to come to these numbers. And then Cybertruck, 250,000 per year, should be easy in 2025. 330 should be easy, but I'm going to just go a little conservative there. So on the semi, I'm only going to use a multiplier of 4 in this particular case, figuring that as they produce way more semi trucks, they may need to, let's say, make deals with some of the major players. So I'm going to use a multiplier of 4 instead of a multiplier of 5. And then the Gen 3 car should be in production at this point. And so I'm putting small numbers, 200,000 to 260,000 for the Gen 3 car. The Gen 3 car should be a very fast ramp because of all the new tech that's going to be involved in the factory production of this new product. Okay, let's take this then up and let's put these numbers in. Total units, 4, 4.2, 4.4, 4.7. we use the same 12,500 profit per car, or 15,000 in best case. So then we will be, of course, increasing the overhead for auto and other. So I got that at 15 billion. The net profit for auto and trucks and all the rest of it now is showing, with the per share being as low, worst case, 12.7 per share, and the best case, 20.2. Now, energy storage, we're starting at 120 gigawatts. This is based on the fact that at this point, we have, at least Lathrop is either dramatically expanded its capacity to 3 times what it is claimed to be today, or additional facilities have been purchased or bought, are built in Lathrop or elsewhere. So in order for Elon to be anywhere close to building his 1 terawatt of energy storage by 2030, there needs to be additional factory capacity by 2025. So I'm saying it starts at 120 gigawatts as a bare minimum and goes up to as high as 240. The per share then is a minimum of 830 and could be as high as $17.80 a share. For the IRA, we're now talking about a significant increase in the amount of IRA income because you have significantly more batteries being produced. This is probably low, because by this time we might be talking about even 3 or 4 gigawatts of batteries being produced at times 4.5. So it could be 14, which I'm showing as my best case theory. It could be more. It could be 20. Red credits, I'm keeping the same. Now we have a total of 2.9 up to as high as 4.8 per share. And then all that together combined, and you can see it could be as low, the worst case in 2025, because as we ramp up at this high rate of speed, the per share at $23.80 would be the minimum dollar, and $42.80 is the possible amount of total per share earnings before taxes and all the rest. Use any multiple you want on that. It's significant. Remember now, this only takes into consideration auto, energy, no robots, no cars driving themselves and turned into robotaxis, no dojo as a service. This is just the stuff that is already in the process of happening, and based on the words of Elon Musk. Prove me wrong. It's like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more like this, and look forward to what I'm going to do on the 2030 numbers, or check it out and see if it's already been published. Been great talking to you today.